Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today, I want to talk about Argostars. I think this is such a cool archetype, such an interesting archetype that when I saw the way it worked when it was first revealed, I was very into it, but I could already tell from that first wave it was not even close. It got two more cards in the following set, which I think helped, but didn't get it all the way there, particularly with one really good new starter card, consistency card. And then in this most recent core set, Duelist Advance, that we're getting just in a couple weeks from now, they get one more card, and that card is crazy. Now, I'm not saying that the archetype is all the way there, but I do think with this new card, it could potentially set the tone for Argostars actually becoming like a full on actual good archetype in the future. Again, you have to keep in mind, you have to take everything with a grain of salt here. This is an archetype. Most new archetypes in Yu-Gi-Oh nowadays, if they come out in a core set, they'll get support in the next following core set, one or two cards, like they got. They'll get support in the third core set, kind of in that line, which they did, one really good card in the new Exceed monster. And then after that, Konami might wait a little while before that archetype actually gets support. Now, that's not the case in every scenario. It is totally possible to get more cards in the next core set and they just keep it going. It is up to Konami. They make their decisions on which archetypes they want to push harder and harder and give more and more cards. So I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying based off of history, I would expect them to maybe be done with Argostars for a little bit. But I also think there might be enough here to look forward into the future and say, if they come back to this and hit this archetype hard in the future, I could see it coming back with a vengeance and actually becoming competitive in the future. So, taking a look at this archetype, it's a very interesting kind of trap monster archetype based around very few monsters in the main deck, but more so it's trap monsters. The first wave was only 5 cards long. So that is very, very small for an initial wave for most sets or most new archetypes that come out, especially in a core set. So you start with one main deck monster with Adra. This is actually a pretty good card. It banishes itself to just place two Argostar of your traps, your trap monsters, face up. And if you don't know, they special summon themselves once they're already face up. So you are placing them, not setting them, so that way they can immediately start summoning and giving you advantage. You get a nice, you know, field spell here. This card gives you a lot of bonus effects, like kind of recovery effects and potentially an interruption effect. But it isn't a starter. It's not like our classic like searching field spell, but not a terrible card. It's just okay. And then you have the trap monsters. And I think this was the most disappointing part for me. And this would have to be something they address in the future, is they got 3 trap monsters. The problem is they kind of stink. This one's like kind of like a slowish search. I guess to be fair though, if you like summoning it um on turn one, then it is getting you a search turn one, but it's kind of like a trap monster that searches you a card. So if you're not summoning this turn one, searching something on your opponent's turn, it's just not, this deck doesn't have a in archetype hand trap or anything, so it's not doing anything really that impactful. This one is just okay. It doesn't really do too much. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, this one's bonus effect is like almost negligible. And then this one, I think Ateo is the one that's like actually somewhat respectable. Yeah. So yeah. You summon it, and then if you currently have a banished Argostar, it bounces a card. A non-target bounce, which is not the craziest thing in the world, but at least it's an interruption that you're getting off of your trap monsters. If you're getting 2 of these, then cool. That's pretty fair enough. And the deck loops them really well. It has ways to like put themselves back into the spell and trap zone so that way you can summon again next turn. So they keep like summoning, doing their thing, putting themselves back, summoning again every other turn, basically, which is cool. And it's a cool mechanic. It's very grindy kind of based, but all in all, just not impactful enough. I mean, just based off of this initial wave, one, you only have with reinforcement of the army 4 starters with Adra. And then at most, with like your best setup, you have home stadium giving you a potential ability to target any card your opponent controls, negate it, but it's in a new chain, um, which is not great, not the best kind of negation. And a Teo doing a bounce. That was it. Then you fast forward to the next wave of support, the second wave, where you got a new main deck monster in Fierce Parth. I actually think this card's not that good either. It does extend, it does give you the ability to just like extend from hand, which is nice. With Adra being your really only main deck monster and making the deck very, very normal summon reliant, this card could help in that regard. But it's still not like a stellar card, all in all. This is the real big winner from the second wave here. Giant Slang. It's basically like an E-Telly Rhoda. You can search an Argostar monster, and then if you have one of the trap monsters, you can just immediately normal summon. So it is kind of E-Telly, but at worst a quick play Rhoda, which is still great. And then it even has a bonus effect that gives you the potential to like get an additional removal later on in the duel, which is really cool. It's a very, very good card. So this card does help a little bit with like your consistency issue and addressing that, but you still have issues with power and you still have issues with just overall advantage creation. And this deck kind of getting there. And I would even say, even with this card being an awesome 3 of, you took a deck with 4 starters and and bumped it up to 7. It's better, but it's not all the way there that you actually want in a fully competitive archetype. And lastly, we fast forward to the newest card that we're about to get here in the TCG, Adventurous Orion. This card is incredible. So one, technically this card is a completely generic rank 4, which is pretty nice. That means just rank 4 engines could help you connect to this engine. If this engine gave you enough payoff, I would have actually thought that could be kind of spicy, especially because this is, to date, the only extra deck monster for this archetype. So with Ryziel, you don't mind the Ryziel lock because you can make this fully under the Ryziel lock, and then that would just be a really nice supporting engine, which is still possible. But again, if you're not getting enough payoff off of this archetype, then what does it mean to bridge into it? Not quite enough. But this card, for what it is insanely good. It's the best card in the archetype, no questions asked. So it can take any 2 level 4s, which is great. It's generic. But also, you can once per turn Exceed summon this card using any one Argostar. So it's basically a Link 1 in that regard. So this is basically like a 22/22 Link 1 that on Exceed summon can just add any Argostar spell from your deck to your hand. So that could be the field spell for utility, for what that offers. Or if you just haven't connected to the engine at all, you just get the new E-Telly. That card is one card line. I don't want to say combo, but line. And that's amazing. It's basically a Link 1 Stratos that's 22/22, and also during every standby phase can detach 2 materials. So probably one time. But keep in mind, you wouldn't be able to do this if you linked into this use that kind of easy overlay. You'd have to make it with enough materials, but you'd be able to place up to 3 Argostar continuous traps from your grave back into the spell and trap zone on the opponent's turns. They are then live to then summon out on the opponent's turn. It's pretty cool. And so that gives you incentive to make it with multiple materials, but obviously you still don't have to. A Rhoda Link 1 is already insane for in its own right, but that is a little extra incentive. Long story short, this card's crazy. And I think the overall reason I wanted to make this video is that if Konami wants to keep going down this line and make more, to be fair, she seems to just clearly correspond to your main monster, Adra, right? She's kind of like a big extra deck version of Adra. Well, even if you're just looking at main deck monsters, does that mean we're going to get a cool extra deck version of Fierce Parth? At the very least, that'd be cool to have something that's actually a little more aggressive. Like, this is a searcher, and it searches your engine, but your engine is not very aggressive. It doesn't do that much. It doesn't play into boards going second, and it barely even sets up enough interruption going first. So, yes, good engine card, but like the deck still needs some oomph. So is there a world we get an Exceed version of at least Parth? Is there even a world where we also get an Exceed version of Tadeu, of Swift Capain, or Slayer Ateo? These are all just different kind of monsters in the archetype, and since they've kind of already set the tone of giving us like a big, cool extra deck version of the main girl we've seen so far, do they eventually connect into the other 4? That'd be really cool. And I also think, like, at some point we need to see 1 or 2 more trap monsters, and they have to be upgraded. Ateo, like I said, I'm not mad about. And even today, Tadeo is not the worst. Like, searching is not the worst thing, but it does not really interact with the opponent whatsoever. And Swift Capain, don't even get me started. This card's so bad, so useless for the most part. So like they could definitely use some upgrades and utility there. But long story short, like, listen, this archetype has 8 cards total. A lot of archetypes on their first wave would have gotten 8 cards. Maybe that means they have a little bit longer of a runway here. Maybe Konami does keep giving them 1 or 2 more cards for the next year, the next 4 core sets, and they end up with, somewhere between 4 and 6 new cards, even from this point, and they round out a whole extra deck. And maybe they all have this crazy easy summoning mechanic like Orion has, and maybe some of them are more aggressive. Some of them are, Orion's kind of your engine searcher. Maybe there's one that's a removal card. Maybe there's one that's just a walking interruption, and you can kind of Sky Striker it up a little bit, right? Where you're able to just phase between the ones you really want, and get, different utility from all of them. I could see that working big time. But long story short, like, I think the archetype's cool. I think this card, when I first saw it, I was like, this card's crazy. It's not enough. And then when I thought more and more about it, I'm like, okay, this archetype's not there. But I do think they might be set up going forward where, like, if Konami comes through with this type of support that I'm talking about here in this video, maybe they do. Maybe they bring it home, and this archetype is the modern day Sky Striker. I know Sky Striker is kind of the modern day Sky Striker with their new support, but like, they'll phase out eventually again, and maybe this Argostars is the archetype in a year or two when Konami comes back for them, or even immediately. They're able to kind of become the modern day Sky Striker. That'd be kind of cool, but yeah, that's kind of what I want to talk about. I've kind of been thinking about this archetype recently, and it's a cool one, but again, it's just not enough. And hopefully, this setup is putting them up, propping them up nicely for whatever comes in the future. But there you go. That's everything I have to cover today. Thanks you so much for watching, as always, guys. Subscribe to the channel for more stuff from me down the line. I've been talking about it. We've got like less than 30 days um, for Doom of Dimensions, and like 50 cards to get revealed. So we should be getting a lot of stuff in the next 30 days. I'll keep you guys updated on everything that drops there. So subscribe to the channel if you want to stay up to date on all things Yu-Gi-Oh news and more discussions, deck profiles, all that stuff. I'm out of here though. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.